Hello, creatives, community, and kind folks out there. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. Today is Third Pillar Thursday, and on this channel, RPG with DBJ, each week we talk about one subject and we spread it out all week long. And pretty much essentially, this show is a 5 hour podcast or something like that, spread over three channels, three services and whatnot. Yes, some of you who are regulars to the show will notice that I do not have my screen behind me. This is my wife and I's entertainment room, and I thought I'd get a little bit of a creative boost from this. But okay, Third Pillar Thursday represents the third pillar of exploration. And I always have to explain this because the third pillar of exploration deals with exploring in our tabletop role-playing games, the environment and everything that it relates to, from going into deep dungeons or exploring caverns or abandoned spaceships or castles and whatnot. And of course, since we're talking about the third pillar, the first and second pillars relate to combat and social interactions. Yeah. There's more of a practical reason why I don't have my normal screens up, and that is because I the other day because I moved the screens, because normally they take up quite a bit of chunk of the room behind me. That normally the screens are in such a space that it fell over the other day, and I think I damaged my television set. So very minor, but I think I put a scratch in the screen, and I'm just like, mother, father. Anyway, but on another instance, if you've noticed the thumbnail, the metadata, you will notice that we're talking about like love and lust and things of that nature. So the other reason why I thought it would be a good idea to take my screen down is because this is essentially, it's my personal space. I am, you guys know, I constantly refer to television and movies in terms of intellectual properties, and so all around the room. Of course, you cannot see it, but all around the room, you'll see over my shoulder. There's everything from DC and Marvel comics, and MCU movies to I believe you can see there is Marilyn Monroe over in the corner as well, and we have all that stuff in frames. And at first, I was like, "There's not really." And thank you there very much there, Cameron, by the way. Yeah, but at first I was like, well, this idea of like obsession and love, maybe even like stalking or true love itself, where two people bonded together and will always find each other, over a vast distance of the universe. And so I'm thinking, well, I don't see anything like that fitting into this theme here, except for the fact that instead of having a specific type of environmental location, meaning like for example, today in Central Ohio, and I'm sure across the various states, we had torrential rain and to the point that we had tornado warnings and such. For those who don't know, every Wednesday at 12 noon, we have tornado warnings. They test the tornado warning system, so the sirens go off at all the local schools for a place for people to get shelter and things like that, and to send out warnings and to advise safety precautions for people and to let people know what's going on. And so I said, well, no, rain, snow, heat, mudslides, and cave-ins and things don't really fit into this theme. But I said, what if you tied yeah, Caius of Glantry says, thank you, Caius. The monsoon is the season of love in India. I'm pretty sure you're being serious, and I didn't know that. So I was wondering if we could tie emotions to specific events or locations, and those, of course, emotions would have to deal with love and obsession and desire and having a crush on someone or things like that. For example, we do have there are various holidays, like Kaya says, the monsoon is the season of love in India. Although I could imagine it becoming that way, especially when humanity must be packed away inside somewhere. um, I've heard I've heard that's the case when, especially in communities where winter strikes and winter comes in and locks everybody in for like a couple of 3 or 4 months or whatnot, and then of course you get bored, and if you have relative safety, and then the stork visits the giant stork with the stat block of a rock comes and visits and drops off babies, right? I mean, that's how it works, isn't it? Anyway, yeah. Dead Man puts in from the indiatimes.com 7 reasons the monsoons are the season of romance. I did not know that. Jesus, I learned something every day. And of course they are the two lovers look like they're somewhat moist. Yeah. And so the that is very cool. I'm wondering what the 7 reasons. Wow, let's go take a look at this. Nothing can be more exciting than a road trip on a rainy night. I don't know about a road trip. I prefer to sit on a porch or something. You can hear and see the rain come down. It's the best time to enjoy a cup of coffee together. I see. I'm with you on that one. The best kisses happen in the rain. We've seen that. As a matter of fact, there are. You guys know I love movies and television, and they tend to bring that up quite a bit. Sharing an umbrella is so cozy. Ooh, yeah. Hugs are even better during the monsoons. And listen to your favorite songs together. Okay, all right, and dive into some nostalgia. That's a great little article. I'm liking that. I hadn't really thought of rain and monsoons as being something that's romantic, but actually it fits in quite well. Yep, yep. Thank you, Cameron. Cameron, he's like yuck, moist. Ugh. Yeah, a little sultry. Anyway, but yeah, Cameron brings up the Spider-Man kiss, the famous Spider-Man kiss. That if you were to take a look at the the background of that kiss, that he almost drowned due to the Spider-Man kiss and how uncomfortable it was. But anyway, yeah, yes, Sawan, the season of love and longing. So if we could attach emotions to weather events, I think that'd be kind of a cool thing, especially if you let's go with the monsoon being the season of love. You could have an environment. Okay, this is weird to say. You could have an environmental hazard that is not a physical one, although the physical one would be trying to navigate through a monsoon, but there could also be an emotional one. How many times do we come across the quote unquote trap in the dungeon that requires like an intelligence or wisdom or even charisma? Yeah, thanks, Cameron. Charisma role to escape the trap, right? Like we know what a pit trap is, right? We know what tumbling rocks are, or hell, even trudging through snow or slipping on a frozen lake, because you guys have heard me talk about that a lot. But what if, just what if, much like Cupid running around shooting his love arrows into people and making them have an attraction to some rando, maybe, just maybe, there is, oh, thank you there, Tesla. Monsoon Wedding Trailer 2001 Criterion Collection. So it must be really, well, through the standards of the people in Criterion, it must be really good. Um, yeah, so maybe there is some kind of emotional change. Like, for example, in fifth edition, you could, and this was done in the module Cholt. you could have a failed save could change an aspect of the character, like their ideals, bonds, and flaws and such. And maybe that changes them, and you maybe one of your flaws, instead of like, I have uncontrolled rage when children are hurt or something, maybe your flaw turns into I have a serious attraction to a long dead princess or something, right? And then all of a sudden, and maybe the PC is like, why do I have that? And you're like, well, don't worry about it. It might come up. And then maybe the princess who's passed away long ago is a ghost or a banshee or a shadow or something like that. And come on, Kitty, you're right every day. Come on. And maybe, just maybe, that becomes more of the problems or the issues, especially if if the PC who is now enamored with one of the enemies is like telling all their friends like, please don't hurt her, and everyone's like, she's a banshee, if she screams she'll kill us, and like, no, she's my lost love or something. I don't know, I'm being a little silly with it, but that may be the case, right? This could be a little bit of a one-off, that during particular, not a particular season, but particular events, that people are more inclined to have a particular mindset, whether it's healthy or not. Now, Kaya says in the dry season, it's too hot to do anything. Monsoon brings cooler weather, more energy, and clean clothes, etc. Yeah, I never thought about it that way, mainly because I don't live in that environment. But it actually makes quite a bit of sense, right? It makes sense that, if you live in a very extremely hot environment, and then when the monsoons come in, sure, we may not. Thank you, Kitty. Sure, we may not like all of the rain, and I mean the flooding part of it, and maybe some of the damage of the monsoon. But like you said, it brings in cooler weather. Hey, Soph, your bunghole is in the camera. Yeah, got that little bunghole. Kais goes on to say it's like spring in colder climates, where flowers bloom, bees buzz, and young people stop hiding themselves under layers and layers of woolens. Yeah, and I think that's related to like us Midwesterners, right? Like, when spring comes, like you said, you're able to socialize in a greater context, to get out of the cold, and to turn remove those layers and scarves and hats and things, and remove those thick layers of clothes that kind of hide the body, and then you get to see everyone, and they start wearing their shorts and t-shirts, and you're just like, ooh, really? Oh, that's what was under there. And then of course you have you have um, you know people's pheromones and their all the good things that create all the good things that create relationships. Yeah, Dead Man's like, the cats are celebrating the absence of the screens. They sure are. They sure are. Thank you there, Sophie Soph. You are shut gonna lie to her. You're a valued member of the show. I hope her purrs are not seriously coming through the camera. I mean, through the microphone. But anyway, some other things that may be important are, let's go with like Lover's Lane. Um, Literally, there are places in there are many places around the world that we know of, that we have accepted as the romantic spot, whether it's whether there's a place to look out across the city or to see the sunset, and everyone goes there because everyone knows in their heart of hearts that this is the place where true love happens. And so you may have monuments or a location that has always been a place of peace. There may be something like Elysium, not the plane of Elysium, but Elysium in the Vampire the Masquerade type of setting, meaning a place of neutrality where even enemy nations and peoples who hate each other, there's one place where everyone says it's off limits. Maybe there was a massive battle where so many people died that to commemorate the deaths of all these people. Maybe people want to bring love to the region. They bring flowers or gifts or something. Maybe there's something about the breeze in the air, the sunlight, the smell of the fronds and flowers. Maybe there's something. It could even be something that was consecrated by one or more religions, either very recently or in the ancient past. And that again itself could be a bit of a again, not a trap, but it could be. I don't know how much true love there is. Deadman's like, Elysium, click. Yeah. Although I suppose if you really wanted to stretch it, Matt Damon's character did have a bit of a care for someone else in that movie, but that's really stretching it out. But what there could be is a location where, hell, even I've yeah, married to its exoskeleton. Although I gotta admit, despite the fact that the movie may not have hit on all cylinders, there's an excellent image of his silhouette, all illuminated with the LED lights on his chest and stuff. It's pretty. It gotta be. He did look like a little bit of a badass, and of course the characters in the background saying, "Grab the bone saw," zipping it into his bones and whatnot. It's pretty cool. The idea that there is um, not just a location, but a a place that everyone knows that if they beseech the gods or some kind of spirit or something, that they can gain the attention of others. I brought up the old hag, right? I want to go to the old hag and get a potion of love potion number 8. If you guys have ever seen the movie Love Potion number 9, there's someone who gets from an oracle, or I don't know who she is, but anyway, she creates the concoction for Love Potion number 8, and of course hilarity ensues as various people, she gives the warning that you can only use so much of it. And so some people were just like, a little dab, hell, I'm going to guzzle the whole thing. And then uh, as mentioned, as I think it was mentioned yesterday by Cameron, that all of a sudden, like, a player character's uh, being besieged by a gaggle of individuals who are just totally enamored with them 24/7, right? They get their own entourage or something, whether they like it or not. And so maybe there's a place where people can go, or upon a certain day or time of day, or if they give certain gifts, maybe they put something in the windowsill, but you get what I'm saying. And then they can ask for, much like selling their soul, right? I would do anything, or I give these gifts if only this one person who doesn't see me falls in love with me, right? Um, or if only I could have the gifts to draw the attention of this person, and I want them to see me and see me in a different light. And so um, that could promote the background of something that the players are involved in. Now, I understand. Listen, your players are going to want to, draw weapons and beat ass, right? And you might be thinking, well, what does that have to do with true love or obsession or stalking? But imagine, if you will, maybe a small city or something, and on a particular day, similar to especially here in the States, the Valentine's Day or Sweetest Day or something. And you start getting these really strange, like, um, one person is obsessed with someone else, but the person they're obsessed with doesn't even know they exist. And all of a sudden, maybe there's some physical changes, or maybe their intentions create or draw things around the city or into the city to support what they want. Like, in their mind, they don't see what's going on, but everyone else does. Like, the person's like, he doesn't see me. He doesn't see that how much I love him. And then all of a sudden they're like surrounded by, you know, devil dogs or hellhounds or something. And of course they don't see the hellhounds, but the hellhounds are motivated by their own emotions. Like, if you're gonna love me, you're gonna come with me, and I'm gonna make you love me. And the person's just like, mother, what the hell? And try to run down the streets and hide from these devil dogs that are trying to hunt them down. But the person is now it went from I wonder if I could get their attention by maybe buying flowers or passing them a note to I'm probably going to flay your flesh from your bones, right? And it might not just be a one-off. Like, imagine a city where all of this is happening in multiples of, like, from a handful to dozens of these events going on. I think that'd be a really cool one-off. Also, the idea of having the environment change people's emotional outlook is also a hazard. There's nothing. I have to say, though, you got to use this with a tender hand, because despite all the things in role playing games, one of the worst things to do is to mind control a PC, right? Take away their agency. And whether you allow the player character to still operate their character with a modified mind, or you as the game master take control of their character, there's nothing worse. And despite the fact that we see this in various other iterations in role-playing games, it never goes over well. So you got to handle this with a tender hand. But that being said, having the environment affect the player character's emotions, enraging them, causing them to have an uncontrolled desire, much like the special abilities of, say, your classic vampire lords, or incubi and succubi, or what are some other harpies or something, something that can charm them. Maybe there's something that goes around that starts affecting people's minds. It could be evil type spirits that are affecting people's minds, or something going around invading the emotional centers of PCs. Like, instead of oh, sorry, Sophie. So if you were sitting on my keyboard, yeah. Oh, sorry. Um, so maybe there's something going around that's affecting each other, and of course the PCs know this, right? Hey, if I go near the black monolith, it means that I'm going to have an uncontrolled desire for, I don't know, the old hag, or the Rakshasa that's been manipulating everything and whatnot. And maybe the player characters realize that that it may be necessary to navigate past the things that will affect their mind and still get past it. What's Sophie? Sorry, you don't have thumbs. You can't type. Um, so maybe that there is a case where there is the case where to navigate the dungeon, however you relate to dungeon, that it affects their mind. Now, something else I thought of, going back to the monsoon season is the season of love. A good one-off. Yeah, like Cameron says, a flower that acts like a cupid's arrow if smelt. Yep. Absolutely. Maybe there's like uh, a valley, or a plateau or something, and if you go on a plateau, it is nothing but true love. And so maybe there are certain flowers, or the rising of the sun or the setting of the sun brings about a certain, and just because of where you're located and the time of day, um, there's something that affects you. And then all of a sudden the PCs are like, what the hell? I, I feel different, but I don't feel anything immediately. And then all of a sudden, when they encounter the banshee, it's like, yeah, you're probably going to save with disadvantage. You're like, really? Oh, that's what happened to me? Oh no! And they might unconsciously be enthralled with what is before them, in various kinds of ways. There may also be something where, could you imagine competing nobles in a city during a special occasion, and each of the noble families are handing out various types of gifts to people, whether they are flowers or perfumes or scarves or trinkets and things. And each of the houses has their own concoction that affects the mind in their own way. So, like the flower that makes it seem like you've been hit by Cupid, maybe it's hyper specific. Like, oh no, you're gonna be drawn to the bloodline of my noble family because we're looking for, we're looking for the a powerful and charismatic and attractive and warrior adventurer or something to become married to the betrothed or something. And they go, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll wear the flower. And then all of a sudden it's like sniff. And they look around and they're like, I didn't notice you before, but you're absolutely gorgeous, right? That that would be pretty cool. It also, you could do this the opposite and have it like the movie They Live. If you guys are unfamiliar with the movie They Live, um, in it, the main characters end up getting a pair of glasses, and when they look through the glasses, they realize that humanity has been invaded by aliens. And so maybe the flower isn't like Cupid. Maybe the flower allows the PCs to see things for the true way they are, as opposed to the way that they've been hidden. So those illusions and doppelgangers and rakshasas and silver dragons and et cetera, that have been living in and amongst the population, maybe the PCs can now see them, and they see the bad guys. They see the big bad evil guys. Yep. Like, I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum. Right? Tesla says there's something in the water. It rains sex pheromones during monsoon season. I'm shocked there's no TV tropes for entry for this. You know what? Yeah. Yeah. We need more bubblegum. Stop kicking ass. But yeah, true, there may be something, maybe there's something in the water. I suppose if you want to make this more combat oriented, if the PCs somehow are not affected by this this miasma, but the population is, when the PCs go to kill the very attractive noble, because the noble is basically some kind of like harpy or something, the population is going to get pretty pissed off about that, right? So the entourages that these people are surrounded by, being completely enthralled by them, might be a thing. Rickard said, "My bad. It's the chew bubblegum before the ass kicking." Yeah, I'm here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum. Yep. Or I'm here to chew ass and kick bubblegum. I'm all out of chewed ass. So, but so you could play it that way as well. Um, I guess if the player characters are if they are willing to go along with it, I could see the doing a one-off where one or more of the player characters come back home, or they go to a particular town. And okay, let's see if I can if you follow along with this. Maybe there is a boon or a benefit to become enamored with someone else to allow the story to keep going on. Right? Tesla puts it from TV tropes. I've been programmed to eviscerate your repulsive, squishy, organic bits and chew gum. That's a good descriptor. Yeah, although you could have described it as placing their foot up into the rectal region of said opponents, but sure, why not? If you want to get more specific, it could be that let's say there's like 5 different factions, and the 5 factions all have individuals that are worthy of having someone's attention, someone's major attention or desire, whether they're attractive or extremely charismatic or something like that. And so maybe falling for the machinations of one faction allows the PCs to have some sort of advantage or boon or something like that against any people in the other factions, right? That may be the case, and that might be kind of cool. So that it's almost like, hey, it's a trade off of are you going to follow are you going to follow the 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 polymorphed dragon? Are you going to follow the Rakshasa? Are you going to follow the Vampire Lord? It's like, well, my character is going to be part of the Vampire Lord's faction, knowing, of course, that the Vampire Lord's faction is pretty evil, but to gain some sort of advantage or to be able to see through the illusions of like maybe the other four factions, it's necessary to fall for their charms and their wiles. That man brings up Marvel Zombies 3. Marvel Zombie. I suppose. Um, I suppose. Ooh, okay, really, computer. I suppose you could have the idea of like. I thought of at one point. I thought of Bliss zombies, but you could very easily reskin or reflavor like a zombie horde as a Gawker's horde. you know, I'm going to bring up Taylor Swift for some strange reason, but if you have someone who's very famous and popular, and they're completely surrounded by by gawkers and people who are just attracted to them, it could be that these people have the they are statified like zombies, but they're really just like, don't you hurt her, she's awesome, we love her. And we're all the people trying to dress like her and act like her and follow her person on their every whim and such. And the PCs are like, should we start cutting them down? And of course, you got that one PC that's like cracking their knuckles, like, hell yeah, we get to kill innocent people. And they start like cutting off their limbs, but they're still like, you're not gonna hurt her. And they're like, Jesus, I cut this person's leg off. Like, they're still coming. What the hell? Yeah, yeah. Tesla's like I came here to drink milk and kick ass, and I've just finished my milk. Moss from the IT or the IT crowd. Yeah, the I'm again with the affecting the emotions. Maybe there's something, especially if you want to just make this a one-off. Maybe a crypt or a monument has been revealed, that was buried from a long time ago, and somehow, some kind of way, it is drawing in other monstrosities to it, and the monstrosities now, not literal lowercase m monstrosities, are now being affected by this monument or sigil or godling or avatar or something. And so now maybe they are starting to develop unhealthy relationships with the local population, whether that population wants it or not. Um, much like Frankenstein's monster, Proteus, the Frankenstein's monster. Maybe there are very innocent individuals in town, but maybe they are being, you know, the huge ogre is trying to bring gifts to someone, and because they have an unhealthy attraction to this person, and this person's like, please stop trying to give me gifts. I'm freaking out. It's really icky. And the ogre's like, I just love you. I love you. And of course, they've beaten somebody about the head and shoulders with a big old club, and want to drop something at their feet, like a small cat bringing a like a cat bringing a mouse to their owner or something, right? And yeah, Owen says it could be the other way around, DBJ. Oh, you mean like, yeah, it could be where an innocent human being is attracted to the monstrosity and trying to gain the attention of the monstrosity, or or the person gets the attention of the monstrosity, and then the person now is abusing the relationship. Like, oh, you want to, you'll do anything for me? Yes, I will do anything for you. Kaboom! And you're like, really? Well, there's somebody I don't like. Yeah. Right. Oh, yep. Ogre. Um, what do you guys do? Oh, you guys, really, really, uncanny valleying these things. Yeah, Omen says the man loves the ogre. Yeah, I could see that. and, ogre, and pet ogre's like, I don't know. I see some hostility towards my people. There, ogre. But yeah, you're right. Like maybe there is a, like we could play with the classic trope of like the elves hate the dwarves, ogres hate humanity, humanity hates the ogres, and all of a sudden something comes in and like flips that on its head, and like you said, the man maybe falls in love with the ogre, or be, it could be measured in love or lust, or it could be measured in obsession. So it might not be something sexual, but it might be something in terms of I will follow this being or person or monstrosity or evil being or something to the ends of the world, and they do nothing but they are nothing but goodness and light, right? Right? Yeah. Yes, this person does not exist.com creates, it is a uh, an AI algorithm that creates faces for people that don't exist, but they are a hodgepodge of they are a hodgepodge of facial traits, right? So yeah, although some could claim that somewhere in the world, maybe just maybe that person does exist. Yeah, Dead Man. Oh yeah, I remember the zombie. I think one of the original zombie series. Zombies invade Earth 616, the original Marvel Universe, by entering through the nexus of realities in Florida. Of course, it's Florida. But yeah, that could be a thing. Also, we have heard of, we've always heard of the mythological Hades takes a person, innocent human being, down into hell, and the hero goes down into hell to retrieve that person. Maybe this isn't really as sinister as we'd like to think, but could be the motivation for how the players are able to navigate someplace like, I don't know, the nine hells. Um, yeah, yeah. Pet ogre's like, yeah, Dead Man. I use that site to build ideas for my characters in the novel I'm writing. Cool, 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 cool. Yeah, maybe there's something. There's nothing insidious about this. Maybe a player character just their lost love has been taken down into the nine hells, and this is the reason how this is. If it wasn't for love, the player character would never be able to cross the dimensions without something like, say, I don't know, a spell that's able to open a portal to another plane of existence. Maybe it is only through love that they're able to do such a thing, to retrieve their lost love, like a Dante's Inferno. I could see a one-off where that's the case, and you don't even have to explain it. You're like, yeah, of course your paladin can go down into hell. Like, but I'm only like third level. Doesn't matter. That's how you got there. Why? Because your true love has been stolen and taken down into the nine hells, and there's nothing you wouldn't do to go there. You're like, oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah, I hear you, Dante. Yeah, Dante's like, did somebody say Dante? I sure did. We're 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 um we're going into your specific inferno. Uh, your specific inferno on the corner of. But you get what I'm saying. Cameron says, "What if a village was built on the ancient breeding ground of some great beasts that only comes together to mate once every 100 years or something?" Oh yeah, oh yeah. Maybe even, heck, we've heard of, like, there could be an ancient legend of two um far-flung lovers who many centuries ago were able to fight against all odds to come together, and this is the location where it's happened. And of course, the PCs made a campsite over top of it because people have long since forgotten about this particular event, and now that event is causing this, the star-crossed lovers thing to happen to enemies and monstrosities and other beings in the community, and maybe it's causing a lot of trouble. It is the ultimate Valentine's Day adventure, right? Cameron says, "Love is a motivation. Make the party penguins who have to go get food during mating season. That's an adventure." Yep. Um, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could very much like have, even if it's only temporary, right? Like, just to, even if you want to do this as a one-off, you're like, hey guys, guess what? Um, I don't know. Some mysterious person comes into town to spread love and joy, and guess what? You've been infected by love and or joy. And the PCs are like, the players are like, yeah, let's have some fun with this. And then all of a sudden they become, could you imagine like a player character falls for a doppelganger, but the doppelganger keeps changing shapes, and the doppelganger's like, just leave me alone. I don't want to be bothered. The player character's like, but I love you. To like random people, randos, like, that's not the doppelganger. Darn it. Okay, maybe the shopkeeper's the doppelganger. I love you. Nope, that's not the doppelganger. Okay, maybe the doppelganger is the blacksmith. I'm gonna go over to the blacksmith. um, Yeah, I hear you guys like flipping it on its head. Like, yeah, imagine a standard fantasy world, but with good ogres and orcs and really nasty elves and dwarves. Yep. The You guys brought up the Purple Man, Kilgrave from Jessica Jones. Well, from the comic books, but also from Jessica Jones. And for those who are not familiar with or don't even plan on watching the Jessica Jones series, the Purple Man has a hypnotic pheromone-like ability. The insidious part of his power is that when you are affected by his power, he can tell you what to do and you'll just follow those instructions. You don't know that you've been charmed. You actually are left with the side effect that you thought whatever he told you to do was a good idea at the time. The nasty thing is that he's walking around New York City. um, Gentleman's driving there with his son in the back seat, going about his business, happens to stop, and then Kilgrave walks up and says, "Hey, I need a ride," and gets in the car with the gentleman with his son. So the guy's like, "Oh, sure, just come on, get on in, sir," and starts driving him around like a limo driver, like his own personal Uber. And then the kid is just like, "What the hell's going on?" Like, "Dad, I don't know this man." And then, of course, Kilgrave says, "Just drop your son off at the corner. He's bothering me." And so, what does the dad do? He drops the kid off on the corner. I'm gathering that his power somehow didn't affect the kid, or maybe he didn't feel like using his power on the kid. I don't know. But anyway, you find all this out because there is a collective of individuals in the city who've all been affected by the Purple Man's power. And of course, the man gets divorced, and he's charged with neglect for his son because he just dropped him off on some random corner in New York City and drove this man around. And a lot of them don't quite remember their interactions with Kilgrave, but it's pretty nasty. And that's a pretty bad side effect. I mean, in its worst way, to not only be mind controlled, but to think that I was never mind controlled, but I thought it was a good idea to do it. Yeah. Pretty problem. Now I could imagine having these side effects from the player character's point of view, where, oh, hey, I'm a kick-ass player character. I get to do whatever I want, and then uh, all the good things start breaking bad. Basically, they start twisting to its worst part. Like, oh, my character has illusions and mind control and stuff. I can do whatever I want. And then all of a sudden they start getting this really nasty entourage around them of people who are obsessed with the player characters in all its ways. You guys. Dante says, for the anime fans, My Hero Academia last season had the criminal gentleman and fangirl relationship as a major arc. It was a pretty good take on the dynamic. Yeah. Um, yeah, um, there is the idea of like an unequal relationship, right? The fanboys, the fangirls, the stalkers, the obsessed and whatnot. I still think that's a great idea for the motivation um, for some bad guys because it changes it from I just want power to I want that person's attention and I'll do anything to have them fall for me, right? That used to be um, a very common trope amongst bad guys in a lot of stories, right? Like, I'm willing to slay my enemies. It helped. The comic book version of Thanos was, I want to court death. I want death to fall in love with me, and so his desire was to destroy as much life in our universe as possible, if not multiple universes, which was why he was trying to get the Infinity Gauntlet to get the Infinity Stones, and et cetera, et cetera. And death was a personified by a shrouded, skeletal faced woman that never talked. And this is the comic book version of Thanos. So I could see a vampire lord, a lich, hell, even a fiend who a fiendish creature, evil wizard, or whatever the case might be, a mummy lord or something that has such a desire to want to gain someone else's attention that they're willing to do anything for that individual, right? And it could be that the player characters just happen to be involved in the machinations where, of course, they've killed everyone in the village because maybe that's what they wanted, or they've spread some kind of curse or desecrated a religious monument or something like that. All of this heading towards maybe the whole idea of dominating an entire region is nothing but to prove to the person that has where their unrequited love is, that they are no longer a commoner. They're no longer afraid. They no longer have fear in their hearts, but instead they've gone away from home, and their one true love, their crush that they had when they were teenagers, when they come back home, like, they're not going to laugh at me anymore. They're not going to, the classic person being bullied in school where the cute girl's like, hey, I think you're cute, and then all of a sudden it's nothing but to make an excuse to make fun of the person when they pull their pants down and behind the bleachers or something, and everyone comes around and wants to take pictures of them and laugh at them, and they're like, I'll show you. An example of this would be in Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3, Killian, the Mandarin character, the actual Mandarin character in it, where he's the nerdy geeky person without any social skills, and then he comes back and he looks all handsome with his slicked back hair and great ideas and stuff like that, right? And one upping Tony Stark in the charisma realm. And so I think that would be a great idea, especially if the player characters um especially if the player characters are the type that blow off some random NPC or something, or maybe in someone's past they were like, oh well, of course I was the best in warrior school, and of course, well, if they were the best, there had to be somebody who was the worst, who might have been jealous of their skill, and they're like, I'm going to go out into the world and become better than you. So yeah, very much I could see that. Something else that may be a possibility is that people's emotions start changing the weather itself. Going back to the monsoon being season being love, or springtime being love, or something. Maybe maybe there literally is a localized weather system around particular individuals that is affecting the environment, and the people themselves may not realize it, but the PCs are. So um, whenever they walk near a certain person that's upset, all of a sudden it's like torrential rain, and it's like poof, and it's like lightning and thunder around them, and it's only like like a 30-foot cone around the person or something, and the PCs are like, "You've got to stop this, dude! You got to stop it!" Like, but I'm so upset. I can't believe she cast me aside, and then somebody else is like all happy and jovial, and and running slow motion through fields of poppies and daisies or something. Um, I could see that. I could see playing with that and having a little bit of fun with that as well. Where um, it seems like there is a like the player characters could be walking from thunderstorms right into a snowstorm, right into a heat wave, right into flash floods, and step from there and into an earthquake or something. Um, it could be very much where, yeah, like Cameron says, a love triangle and a murder mystery seem to go well together as well. Um, yeah, maybe someone a murder mysteries make perfect sense, where someone is murdered and everyone has a reason to have murdered that person, including the individuals who have the most desire for that person. Or heck, how many times have we seen the the murder mystery shows where the real life murder mystery shows where two people are together and you have the one person who's jealous and who's obsessed with the other person. It's like, I'm going to kill your loved one, or I'm going to kill the person you picked over me, and go and try to slay or kill that person. So that's also a great reason for the player characters to get involved in, a lich wants to take over the world. Well, maybe the lich doesn't really want to take over the world. Maybe the lich's whole point was to gain enough power to finally capture and torture um, the new boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever, of their great love. And it's like, I only became this way because I loved you. And of course, the one they're attracted to is like, you're hideous. Like, you're more than a little hideous at this point. You're like an undead something. And they're like, I'll show you. I'll make you love me. Right? Um, that's pretty common. And love triangles might be a great way. Like, what if there's a love triangle some kind of way between a lich, uh, a lich, a pit fiend, and I'm trying to think of something else, and a dragon or something, some kind of shape change dragon. Like, and it's like, so the player characters finally uncover the plot, and they're like, so you're saying this wasn't about taking over the land. This was because they were in different relationships with each other, trying to get the others' attention. you know, like, you're saying the red dragon has been terrorizing the countryside for generations to impress the I don't know, the pit fiend or something. That's your reasoning. Sure, it could be a little incredulous, but if you build up to it, listen, people have done worse for less, and why not pull in that thread, right? Um, every every great dictator wants to have someone by their side, and for all those evil people that want to have that person by their side, serial killers and all, maybe there's like, maybe the big evil guy was pretty happy to be by themselves, but when their true love, Dracula going after the person that happens to look like the person that they loved, 3 centuries ago, when somebody affects them, all hell breaks loose. Cameron says, like, laughing, like, in D&D, it might be more palatable to have a lover hire a bugbear to murder the victim. Some people are real uncomfortable with human on human murder. Depends on the table, you know. Oh, you're absolutely right. Like, um, murder mysteries in Dungeons and Dragons usually don't fit well when it's, you know, human versus human, or humanoid versus humanoid, I guess, or player race versus player race. But like you said, someone hires the bugbear, and of course, you know, bugbears are like, hell yeah, I get to choke somebody out, right? And and they're pretty evil anyway, so to have a motivation of that, and for that to happen, or heck, who's to say that? Okay, we know now that that there are people who, um, maybe there might even be someone in our chat that loves the idea of, the attractive orc, right? Who's to say that other monstrous races aren't part of that? There are people who wouldn't mind, you know, wouldn't feel that it's odd to fall in love with a bugbear or an ogre or something like that. I mean, to them, they're just they may look different, but they're not turned off by it. So maybe it's nothing so insidious or arcane or anything. Maybe it's just a person that's like, you know what, we just get along, and you don't have to like it, but we're together. You know. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Bugbears are just extra hairy women, and some people might know that. Uh, yep. And I am following a little thread there, and I have to agree with Dead Man. They're talking about the 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 AI algorithm that creates artificial people. Yeah. Cameron's like, that's adorable. Hashtag bugbears need love too. Let's not forget that, you know, eh, eh, bugbears kind of are geared towards killing people, so, we might want to. Although I suppose if someone's pretty evil, they could do that. Or, um, the player character race individual goes to the bugbear and it's like, you know, the guy goes to the female bugbear and he's like, "I love you so much," you know, and of course the bugbear's like, "Oh, I love you too. I'll do anything for you. What would you say?" And of course, the paladin is like, "I need you to kill someone for me. I mean, only if you want to." And she's like, "Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that right now." And goes and murder kills someone, and the paladin's like, "Don't know what you're talking about. Mm, I have no idea." Yep, yep, yep. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, you guys, right? So the I suppose to come to an end to this, while you know, today is Third Pillar Thursday, and talk about the third pillar of exploration. Um, I suppose the last thing could be following. I suppose you could follow the trail of an old storyline, meaning like maybe the players come upon a story like Romeo and Juliet. And so when they come upon Romeo and Juliet, the story, meaning they uncover the story, maybe that story, if they follow the story like following the yellow brick road, that story ends up following along the adventure. So, for example, Romeo describes who he is and what family he's from, and maybe that leads to, um, a town that's been abandoned for years and is overrun with undead or something, who are the undead members of this whole family. Okay, that's the first part, and then Romeo sees Juliet for the first time, so then maybe that leads to the second part of the adventure, and the second part, not necessarily a second dungeon, but maybe that leads to another thing out in the wilds. And when he gets to the place where he sees Romeo sees Juliet for the first time, it's a dinner party, and all of a sudden, like, strange spirits and illusions start swirling around, and the PCs are suddenly in a dinner party, and they see Romeo, and they also see Juliet, and they see each other across the way, but of course they end up getting involved in some kind of weird ancient although happening for them in real time, some kind of ancient um, machinations and dinner party and trying to find out who loves who and who hates who, and they see each other across the way, and they have to keep Romeo and Juliet from being killed, even though this has happened many centuries ago, but they're pulled into this storyline or something, right? Yeah, yeah. Like Pet Ogre says, "Ooh, ooh." Then Juliet turns out to be a shape-shifted ogre, like in Shrek. Sure, why not? Why the hell not? Right? And so maybe this becomes like it's like a storyline the player characters are following along with, and when they follow the storyline, of course, you have to have it take a dark turn if you want to, but they follow the storyline where, of course, they have to split them apart and send the letter and to drink the poison, and I'm going to kill myself. But then you wake up and you find out they got the letter and blah blah blah, right? So, you could follow a storyline where player characters are like it's not necessarily a physical dungeon, but it's like an emotional roller coaster, literally dungeon. um, Meaning, much like the bottle stories where the person is drawn into another world, but when they return, it's only been like 5 minutes. This could be the thing where the PCs camp by the old monolith. They fall asleep. They go into this dreamlike world. They are in the world, and then boom, they come back out. Yep, just like in Shrek. Princess Fiona, fictional character in DreamWorks Shrek franchise. Uh, One of the series' main characters, Fiona is introduced as a beautiful princess placed under a curse that transforms her into an ogre at night. Which, I got to bring it up before we leave. Do any of you guys remember Lady Hawk? If you don't, I will give you the plot. It's an old movie, but pretty good. There is a curse where these two individuals um, are lovers that can never be together. So yeah, almost like Rutger Hauer. Hell's yes. Rutger Hauer has passed away. Lady Hawk during the evening, the female, the woman that Rutger Hauer's in love with is a human being. She walks the earth and at night, but she's followed by a loyal and powerful timber wolf, right, in the movie. But for just a moment, when the sun starts to rise, they get to see each other for just a moment. She transforms into a hawk. He transforms back into human. Yep, it was a hawk and wolf. And so at night he was a wolf and she was human, and during the day he was human and she was a hawk. I think that's a great. How would you do that in a game? I don't know. I suppose you could. Um, let's just. I would allow this to happen amongst. Let's say you have two people at your table, but they both can't show up all the time because of real life. I could see them playing each other's individual, and that they have the familiar is the other person's player character. So when the adventure happens at night, it's like I'm going to play Miss. I don't know what her name is in the movie, but I'll come up with something. Adriana, right? I want to play Adriana, and I have a Timberwolf as a familiar. Okay, cool. Yep, yeah. Cameron says one player playing two characters would work well. Would work as well. I would let somebody do that, especially if the timing's really bad. Like, oh, we're going to adventure at night, and sun's about to come up. Got to switch characters. And if I was playing at PC, I'd be like, all right, whatever. Flip one character over. I got the familiar of the other character. Why the hell not? And if you don't want, I've said this before, and I know this is really a bit of a strangeism, but the wolf hawk relationship doesn't even need to be a familiar, because I can hear some of you thinking in your heads like, well, if she's walking around and the Timberwolf gets killed, doesn't that kill the other player character? You could just make two different characters where the wolf, when the character's playing the girlfriend, it doesn't even need to be the girlfriend. They could be both the same gender. Who cares about that part of it? But when playing the character with the Timberwolf could just be a representation of the player character's capabilities, right? Like, I'm going to use a shield spell. Okay, well, your shield spell is the Timberwolf knocks you down so you don't get hit. Or I'm going to use a message spell. Well, it's not really a message spell. It's the Timberwolf running up next to a PC, and the PC somehow, some way, he like through empathy understands what the other person is saying. Like, you could make it where it's not really a thing, even though it's narratively it exists in the world. The hawk flying around is just one of your character capabilities to see and notice things or something. Your magic missile really isn't a magic missile. It's the hawk flying down and scraping, battering your enemies or something, right? You could do something like that. Dead Man says her name was Isabo. Isabo. I'm going to presume it's pronounced Isabo, and the guy's name was Navarre or Navarre. I did not know that. I was thinking it was going to be something more stereotypical, like Isabel, and maybe his name was something like Tristan or something of that nature. Although now I'm thinking of Tristan and Ebold, but whatever. But you get my point. I didn't know that. Cool. So yeah, I know we've gotten into the Lady Hawk thing, but Omen says that movie inspired the Berserk anime, and we all know where that went. I don't know the Berserk anime, but anyway, the idea that a character has been cursed to not be with the whole point of Lady Hawk is that they were cursed and they could never be together, even though they were together the entire time. So that's the thing. Yep. And Omen says, and also DBJ, that's a good example of obsession as any. Ooh, that's cool. Haven't seen it. But anyway, guys, Tristan and Evolved. So anyway, guys, thank you very, very, very much for being part of the show. Yes, thank you very much. Guys, I will see you for Future Friday. Remember, Future Friday, we get to talk about all things science fiction and futurism, especially when it deals with obsession in transhumanism. It's going to be pretty nasty. But anyway, guys, everyone have a great one. I will see you later. Bye.